Over the last 20 years, the loss of life from commercial fishing vessel sinkings has been reduced by about 2/3, while during the same period of time, the number of fatalities from people falling overboard has remained about the same. These fatalities are occurring even when the vessel is not in danger from fire, capsizing, collision, or grounding. These one-by-one losses account for up to 1/3 of all the people who die while commercial fishing. How do you prevent a man overboard? How can you protect the lives of your crew? What deck safety practices do you insist your crew follow to prevent man overboards?
Hey, I told you not to go out on deck alone.
Do you have a man overboard retrieval system worked out to get your crew or yourself back over the rail? Do you practice monthly man overboard drills?
Man overboard drill, starboard side. Keep your eye on that grid.
Without a plan, you can end up with a disaster.
I was shaking a fish off the troll line and missed it the first time. I was a little irritated at that and reached over farther to unhook the fish, and my foot slipped as I leaned over the rail. I was balancing on the rail. The next thing I know, I was in the water looking at the rail as it was pulling away from me. I remember seeing the gaff hook I had in my hand and my hat floating behind me. I remember looking out and seeing the float bag, and I said, that's connected to the boat. So I swam away from the boat by about 40, 50 feet, caught the float bag as it went by, hooked my hand in it, and so I was now connected to the boat. Leland ran back to the cockpit and pulled the fishing line in the float bag. And it just pulled me right to the boat. And probably within about 3 minutes of the time I went overboard, I was back at the side of the boat. And then the problem started because I was considered bigger than I am now, and there was only one person on the boat, and we couldn't get me into the boat. So for about 25 minutes, I was at the side of the boat as we were trying to get me back onto the boat itself.
There are many types and styles of wearable personal flotation, or PFDs, now available.
Hey, good morning, guys. Hey, my name is Devin Lucas. I'm with the National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health. We're going around doing a study with fishermen today about PFDs. Basically, we're asking guys to wear some new styles of PFDs and wear them for a month and let us know how comfortable they are to work in.
Okay.
So would you guys be interested in participating?
Sure, why not?
All right,
Yeah,
great.
come on
Thanks a
board.
lot.
A recent National Institute for Occupational Safety and Health, or NIOSH, study provided over 200 PFDs to fishermen to determine their PFD preferences.
You know, they're trying to make PFDs that are comfortable for guys to work in.
A variety of PFDs were used in the evaluation. Fishermen rated PFDs that were easy to work in very highly. They also rated PFDs built into rain gear as being very comfortable to work in. Each gear group surveyed had different preferences for PFDs. There are a number of different styles and brands available. All of these PFDs have different flotation characteristics, but the best PFD is the one you will wear most often.
Excuse me, are you Steve?
Yeah, you must be the new guy.
Yeah, Rick.
Come on aboard. I think I'll have you put your gear in here and we'll get started. I've got a couple things I want you always to have a PFD on. I'll get you that here in a couple of minutes. And on that PFD, I want to make sure you've got a whistle. And reason for the whistle is so that I can hear you above the engine noise in case you're in the water. Along with that, I've got a light that attaches to your PFD, and we'll hook that right onto it once we get it out and set. And then I've got a knife, this to help you free yourself in case you get caught up in some line or some rigging. And that just goes right onto your suit right there, and so you can grab that. You might want to practice getting a hold of that once in a while and cutting yourself free. Any questions about what we're going to do?
Oh, good.
Okay. This is our man overboard alarm, and it's activated by this transmitter. And I'd like you to keep this transmitter with you anytime you're out on deck. and make sure you've got that in your pocket or attached to your clothing in some way. And that way, if you go in the water, it'll set off the transmitter, and we'll know that somebody's overboard, and we'll come back and start looking for you. Okay? I want to show you our man overboard retrieval device. This is called a life sling.
A person with water-soaked clothing is almost impossible for most people to bring over the rail without a mechanical advantage.
Come on, grab on, man!
Cold water also makes it difficult for the person in the water to hold on to anything. Traditional life rings may not be effective. They rely on the strength of a victim who is suffering from cold water. You need a lifting device that will do 3 things in calm or rough water. First, provide flotation to the victim. Second, be able to take slack out of the rescue line so the victim cannot fall out of the rescue device. And third, have enough line available to attach the victim to the vessel and to the mechanical advantage to help pull the person aboard. Once someone is in the water is not the time to figure out how to get them out. The victim has only a short time to help themselves due to the cold. There are several products on the market that fulfill these 3 requirements. The life sling is a device used on some fishing vessels. It has the advantage that it can be attached to the boat to circle the victim. The 125-foot line already attached to the vessel can then be led to the mechanical advantage. Some life slings are also U.S. Coast Guard approved and can meet requirements in place of a life ring on commercial fishing vessels. They are much more useful in a man overboard recovery. Another product is the Marsars Cold Water Rescue Sling. Adding a line to the Marsars will allow you to use your mechanical advantage to get the victim on board. You can also rig up your own device, but manufactured retrieval devices tend to be more reliable. A throw bag can also be a very useful way to bring your survivor to the vessel quickly.
Dip it in the water, it should give you another life jacket.
No matter what type of system you use or make up yourself, have it ready to go and practice with the crew during your monthly drills. There are 9 steps in the man overboard recovery process. First, let the wheel watch know what side of the vessel the crew member fell from.
Man overboard! 8 o'clock, 30 foot!
All right, Dick, I'm coming to port! Keep your eye on him!
Second, maintain a sharp lookout, keeping the victim in sight at all times. Point and do not let your eyes off the person in the water.
Get a buoy and get your immersion suit on.
Third, mark the location the victim went overboard with smoke or a buoy in daylight, or a marker light after dark. Fourth, the person on the wheel should also mark the spot on the GPS. Fifth, return the vessel to the victim. There are 2 principal methods of turning: the Williamson turn and the simple circle. The Williamson turn is the traditional method for returning in poor visibility, at night, or with large vessels where the man overboard may not be in sight. By coming over to a course 60 degrees from the original and then to 180 degrees, the vessel will come back to her original course line, heading out the opposite way. In daylight, where the man overboard can be kept in view, a simple circular turn is faster. Sixth, have a rescue swimmer in an immersion suit with a detachable lifeline ready to go into the water. Without a prepared swimmer, chances are someone will jump in unprepared if the victim is weak or unresponsive. Without this protection, the rescuer will become another victim. Seventh, approach the victim closely but very carefully. Eighth, deploy the rescue device within the victim's reach. Keeping tension on the line will help hold the victim. Ninth, a mechanical advantage will almost certainly be needed to hoist the victim aboard. Be sure to bring the victim on board belly first to avoid injuring their back. Some boats can trail the rescue device astern, hauling it in a circle to contact the victim, just like picking up a water skier. Adapt a lifting method to the equipment available on your boat. If power is not available, use a simple block and tackle that can be operated by one person. Practice man overboard drills in a hands-on way before an emergency occurs. Conduct monthly emergency drills. Your chances of a speedy recovery will increase greatly with practice. Learn the maneuvering characteristics that are unique to your boat so that you can safely come alongside. If the vessel is at dock or anchor, or in an area where a current has taken the victim into shallow water, a rescue may need to be done with a skiff. Be sure to distribute the weight in the skiff to avoid capsizing, and bring the victim up in an area with low freeboard to avoid swamping the skiff.
You okay? You all right? Okay, we're gonna get you inside. We'll get you in some warm clothes. Okay.
Every master is responsible by law to equip and train his crew to cope with the man overboard to the best of their ability. Could you rescue a man in this water? This is how a man overboard rescue should be carried out.
Man overboard! 8 o'clock, 30 foot! Okay, come to the port!
Keep an eye on him. Okay, I got a visual on him. Okay, I got him. I'll take over for you. Get a buoy. Okay, hey Rick, grab onto this. There it comes up. And
Practice, 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 until everyone knows their own duties and the duties of others around them. It is much easier to prevent falls overboard in the first place than to recover someone from the water, especially at night, in rough seas, or when the location of the man overboard is unknown. To help prevent man overboard fatalities, insist that all crew wear a PFD appropriate for the on-deck work they are doing. Prevention includes the following guidelines. Clear the deck as soon as possible of slime and slipping hazards and warn the crew of danger zones. Keep a deck policy that includes no one being on deck alone, especially at night, without telling someone on board. On smaller vessels, during your safety orientation, remind crew to avoid standing in blind spots where they cannot be seen by the rest of the crew or the operator.
hey man, I don't want you doing that on deck. Use the head in here, would you?
Insist that the crew use the head or at least a bucket to relieve themselves. The use of alcohol and drugs increase the risk of a person falling overboard and should not be used when operating a vessel. All crew should monitor themselves and each other for getting caught in bites of line or getting snagged by hooks. Provide safety lines, rails, or bulwarks of adequate height that do not interfere with your fishing. Be aware that fatigue increases the chances of falls overboard. Fishermen who work alone are especially at risk for a man overboard and must have a way to get themselves back on board. Choosing a life jacket you will wear most of the time is very important. It will prevent you from drowning, keep you warmer, and give you time for self-rescue. Try to fish within sight of a partner vessel if your fishery allows that. Take special care to not foul lines or other gear. Keep your decks shipshape. Keep a knife on you to be able to cut yourself away from entanglements. Be scrupulous about keeping your decks clear of slime, seaweed, and slick spots. Use non-skid on all walking surfaces, including near survival equipment. When alone, it is especially important to use safety lines or rails when working on deck that do not interfere with your fishing gear and work. Take extra precautions when working up forward, as when setting or picking up the anchor. Set dog lines or safety lines on deck for working alone when you must go in exposed conditions in high-risk locations. Consider purchasing a man overboard switch that will shut down your engine, giving you a chance to catch up to your vessel. There are several models from which to choose. Some alarms will shut off the engine when the victim falls in the water. Drag a floating line with a buoy if practical to help get yourself to the vessel. Rig your vessel with a pull-down ladder system that will allow you to reboard the vessel. Once near the vessel, a line always staged over the rail near the water that can be tugged on to deliver a rope ladder can save your life. When working alone, you've got to take additional precautions to avoid being another statistic.
You have to kind of think of things that you never think about. I mean, if you go overboard, the best thing to try to do is have the flotation device where somebody can see you and get a hold of, like I said, a float bag or a line or something that could keep you with the boat. And I don't remember anybody ever having, somebody probably did, having a ladder or something on the boat that somebody could climb back on. I don't think anybody ever really thinks about it. If you get off the boat, how are you going to get back on?